Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. This is a late video. This is at around 10 at night, so excuse me for just, just kind of the dark kind of lighting and stuff like that. And also for the lack of content. Just been busy, just with work and stuff like that. So I just hadn't had time, excuse me, to really post anything. And frankly, there hasn't really been a whole lot of news as of late. So it's kind of a quiet uh, couple of weeks or a quiet couple of days. So apologies for that. But I do have my stuff is now literally all over the place right now. Um, I do have an announcement coming Thursday. So there will be something there for you guys to see. But until then, I do have this video that I would like to do. Might have another video out tomorrow. We'll see. Um, and this is kind of a response to something that's going on that happened recently, but also just kind of to give my honest opinions again, at least to kind of give us a timeline, because I have talked about this topic before, which is AI. AI in film, just AI in general, artificial intelligence. I've made my, opinion. Made my opinion known a few times on this channel. I've done a few videos here and there, um, but I just think that there's a more blunt version of what I've been talking about that I just want to address here with this specific story that happened involving AMC theaters. For those who don't know, AMC theaters was planning on having a short film, an AI created short film, put in their theaters for, I believe, like a 2-week period. And this was all in result of a film festival competition where the prize was that they would screen their movie for 2 weeks at their theater chain. I don't know how wide of a release it was going to get, but they were basically going to get some form of distribution because of winning that film competition. At least that's what I gathered. I could be wrong. My information could be wrong. I could be just not reading it correctly. I didn't exactly read like the entire article. I just kind of skimmed through it a little bit, but that's what I at least gathered from it. And A lot of people got upset. A lot of people were, made their voices heard online. I believe some people in Hollywood also took issues to it as well. And as a result of all this, AMC has decided not to do what they had promised for the competition, and that short film is now not going to be shown in theaters. Um, Now, obviously, there's two different ways that you can kind of attack this. Obviously, there is the vocal part, that people have made known about AI for a while now, which is that people seem to be against it. And um, I'm one of those people where I don't necessarily like the idea of AI because it manipulates a lot of visual mediums and can also manipulate a lot of interpretation of language, and it could become a very, very dangerous tool, upon how you use it. Um, but on the flip side of that, using the same statement that I just said, AI can be used for many different tools. It's not just specifically for the things that we have been seeing, with like the social media posts and all the little videos being done. I mean, if we're going to talk about AI also, I mean, there's obviously also that video that came out with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, which, yeah, does look pretty good. I mean, it looks, a certain thing, or has a certain quality to it. And Hollywood also, once again, has made their opinions known towards this. I think that the company was also sued, or somebody was sued. I could be wrong because of that video being out there. I think it's also because in the video, Brad Pitt, they made Brad Pitt say, at least the AI version of him, say something about Jeffrey Epstein. So, um, but I have my opinions on this, which is twofold. One, I think that the responses from Hollywood are very hypocritical because to knock, what it is that people are doing right now, as if you guys aren't doing the exact same things right now, with doing little things here and there and wanting AI. I mean, they want AI to be a part of their system because they have this belief that it's a cutting cost and that it will bring things down, even though that's not entirely the issue. The issue is not the employees, it's not the people who are working on the stuff, people who are hired on to do with it. It's to do with the higher ups, it's to do with the executives, it's to do with the producers, it's to do with the people who have decided that, how much Avatar should cost? 200 to $300 million. Like, or all these other decision makings that involve massive amounts of spending, that make it hard or just impossible for movies to make a return on investment. And it's a very different landscape nowadays when it comes to film. It's not the same as it once was. There's a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of selectiveness going on. So you have to be very, very careful as to your spending. And for them, they don't see their own faults. So they're just doing what most companies do, which is laying off their employees, or or just finding ways to alleviate the expenses, and they think that the employees are the ones who should take the brunt of that. Unfortunately, um, and uh, that's not something that's been fully initiated yet within Hollywood, but it's something that obviously has been creeping in. We've heard reports from about these major studios messing around with AI stuff. Like Disney was going to do AI stuff with the Tron film, and then the live action Moana that's coming out. Uh, I believe, I could be wrong, but there was a comedy that Jonah Hill did, where I think he had an AI kiss with the actress because the actress did not want to kiss him. Right? I think that's something. I could be totally wrong on that. Um, and with all the other little things here and there that they've done in the past, but beyond AI, like the deep fakes or the de aging, all that crap, that Hollywood has played with already. They're already neck deep in it. It's just a matter of when it will become more acceptable that they then will roll out. With all of this stuff. Disney's already also made deals with companies like, I think it was Sora. They've already have established themselves, wanting to branch out in that field anyway. To bridge those relations already. So to make these comments, right, about what other people are doing, right, I think it's very hypocritical because that's literally what they're going to be doing anyway. Yes, it's different parameters to some extent, but ultimately what we're going to end up with, I mean, it's not going to be any different, right? The only real difference is legality. It's going to be that actors will either sell their likenesses or they're going to do this and that, but ultimately we're going to meet at the same conclusions. So, you know, and in all of that, my second point, it's an inevitable thing. As much as we're going to all say how we feel about it, it's an inevitable thing because the studios at this point have let it known that that's just their intentions. There's been already strikes made. With the whole actor strike that happened a few years ago, which I still say was a dumb idea. Um, the one part of that strike that I agreed with was, the things that they talked about with AI. Making sure that their people's likenesses are protected, under law, and that they'll not be just used for whatever. Um, I think that there was a famous lawsuit. I don't know how famous it was, but I remember watching a video about Crispin Glover for Back to the Future. I believe it was on a Collider where they did a interview of him, and he talked about how he was not in part two, but everyone thinks he was in part two because they had another actor and they put makeup on him to make him look like Crispin Glover. And that performance, at least in Crispin Glover's eyes, was not particularly good. And he felt as though that association actually brings does damage to his career or his trajectory to some extent. And that's when the lawsuit took place, because he also did not provide consent, to have somebody appear like him in that film, which gets kind of wishy-washy in terms of all the legality there. But the point is that he won that lawsuit, and uh, he he it was all based on the fact that he never provided true consent on that front. And those sort of things, that was just makeup back in the day. But now we're talking about a whole different endeavor involving technology, which can do just complete work to your face, using your face and your vocals and saying things. It can get really, really crazy. And I completely understand why there needs to be that sort of precedent set. And I'm glad that something like the strikes at least brings that to awareness. Maybe not fully, making it striking a point or a chord with the studios, but at least it's a now apparent thing. At least it's now being discussed, and openly so. Um, but I just think that all these discussions, especially when Hollywood says what they says right now, um, I've seen some interviews of actors where they just kind of downplay it. They're just like, "Oh no, it's not going to do anything, guys. Don't worry about it, you guys. It's not going to go anywhere crazy and stuff like that." And the truth is that when the day comes that it becomes more acceptable, it is going to do some damage. It's not going to do any damage in the now, right? Maybe in the next like 20 or so years, we'll see a very different landscape for film. What we're seeing right now is the starting point. We're seeing people, just being more and more willing to operate with that space, willing to allow that space to be a part of their existence, about using AI for their own creations. It's spreading across the internet. I've seen it in many videos. More people are just becoming more accepting of it, because eventually you're going to be it's just going to become a common practice, and that's something that I don't exactly like, especially in the film space. I love the whole practical nature that comes with filmmaking, and I don't think that having something just completely generated for you, it just it takes away from that experience, also from an acting point of view as well. It just takes that experience away from you as well. All the prep, all the the discovery, within understanding your characters, that all is taken away now when technology decides to dictate all those actions and to create the expressions and create the emotions. It just is as it is. It's artificial. So, but it's an inevitable thing, because the studios are not going to realize that the problem lies within themselves. They can't realize that all the spending that they do is, you know, not a good thing, you know, and but it's not been a good couple years for film. This past year was rough, and as far as this year's is concerned, so far it's been a little rough too. So, but yeah, I find it kind of humorous when I see people responding to AI stuff like this, where and just discussing the specific story proper. It's like, if you had agreed to give that person 2 weeks in theaters, which it's only 2 weeks, guys. It's like, come on, um, give that person their reward. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like they earned it. Like they won. It's like, I don't know. It's like, just, I don't know how wide the distribution was going to be. Like, if it was literally just going to play in one theater, guys, like, really? Like, is that seriously a big deal? Like, if one theater was going to occupy that, it's like, that's not a big deal. If it was like a big like thing, like a thousand theaters and stuff like that, even then, like, vote with your wallet. That's the only way that studios understand, is through that. And Hopefully this year or next year, we'll start to see the studios maybe start to dial things back when it comes to budgeting. I doubt it at this point because there's a lot of factors also that come with budgeting as well. There's actor salaries, which is the irony, right, with actors is that they will, um, they'll say things about AI, saying, "Oh no, it's not a big deal" and stuff like that. Meanwhile, when AI does take precedent, right, it's cheaper versus someone like, I don't know, like a Leonardo DiCaprio who comes in with his actor package and there's a certain kind of salary that he demands when he makes a movie and stuff like that. That contributes to the budget and that causes things to rise up versus maybe just licensing out his likeness for something way cheaper and just utilizing that. It's that's part of the problem too, is like all these little things that contribute to the budget. It's not just the producers and what they do. Sometimes the actors also come in and they demand what they want, and that causes things to rise up as well. So it's a changing of the guard is what it is. It's we're just seeing a transitional period take place, going from what we know of filmmaking to now a new era of that, and I'm not really for it personally. um, and I know Hollywood in some ways isn't either, but they're also delusional to some extent because they're not thinking about how they contribute to those problems. They're just thinking about what other people may in fact be contributing to the problem and taking the fat out of their system, which unfortunately is they're going to be their employees, it's going to be their actors, it's going to be people who uh, do valuable work. That's kind of the way of the future of it, and it's a very it's a scary thing, especially for people who work in that industry. But it's just almost a fixed point. That's in some ways. So we'll see. I mean, maybe it will fade. I doubt it, just because, you know, it will fade, but it will become a thing, right? It already is a thing, but it will become a thing. Because with anything, guys, there is like, because this is how Hollywood's thinking right now. AI costs like this, right? This is where my hand is. It costs like this. Some people will say, well, no, it costs a lot more. But if we're talking about like bare bones, to do things, it's very accessible right now, right? So right here is where it's at. Let's even say it's like right here. In about 20 or 30 years, when this is like taking full precedence, we have AI feature movies in theaters, we have all this stuff going up, the cost of this thing is going to go up, right? Because there's going to be more demand, and then more demand, and more demand, and more demand, and more demand, until eventually it's going to be right here. It's like anything, it's like the streaming services. You start here, and then demand starts building, and then more and more subscribers, and more this, and this, and this, and this, and this, because they want to be able to get as much money as they can out of the things that they have. Until eventually it's going to become too expensive, and then interest is going to start going from here, start going from here. So they're just looking for a temporary fix. And unfortunately, people are going to suffer because of it. People are just going to probably going to lose their jobs because of this. Um, but it's just the way of the future. At least a version of it. Theaters is also just a very just wishy-washy. We'll see how things play out. With like general interest in movies, because movies as it stands have just been kind of falling. So there's a lot of doubts right now. But one of those certainties I can tell you is that AI it is a thing, and it will become a thing, at some point down the line. It's just a matter of just that push, you know. And right now the push is like this. It's very, very slow and it's very steady. And eventually we'll see it just take over. And it will rise and fall, as all things do. But you guys, what are your thoughts in regards to AI and your guys' thoughts on just where things are going with AI? It's become the norm now on the internet. You know, like a lot of people watch things and they'll be like, "Oh, that's an AI video," or "Oh, that's this, that's fake," and "Oh, this and that." How do you guys feel? And how do you guys feel about Hollywood when they responded to stuff like this? I just think it's very hypocritical because they're all about it. We know that they're all about it, so why complain when someone else does it? You know, um, like I get it because likeness and legality on that front. I get that, but just the general, just like denouncing of the craft. It's like you guys are wanting to do that anyway. You just want to do it legally. That's the main difference. But at least that's what I think. But you guys let me know. Let me know your guys' thoughts. All things related to AI in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.